My parents gave my college fund to my brother, saying he's a man, so he needs it more. When I confronted them, they shrugged, "You'll just marry rich anyway." Years later, I walked into their bank as a millionaire, and they begged me to bail them out. I smiled coldly and said, "You'll just find someone else to pay anyway." I grew up in a small town in Ohio, the eldest of two siblings. My younger brother, Jake, was the golden child in our family. Our parents believed that as the male heir, he was destined to carry on the family name and legacy. This belief shaped many of their decisions, often leaving me feeling like an afterthought. Throughout our childhood, Jake was given every opportunity to succeed. He was enrolled in the best sports programs, provided with new equipment, and always had our parents cheering him on from the sidelines. I, on the other hand, was encouraged to pursue more feminine hobbies that required minimal investment. When I expressed interest in attending a summer science camp, I was told it was too expensive and unnecessary for a girl who would eventually become a homemaker. Despite the lack of support, I excelled academically. I graduated high school with top honors and was accepted into several prestigious universities. Excited about the future, I approached my parents to discuss the college fund they had mentioned when we were younger. Sitting in our modest living room, I broached the subject, expecting a conversation about which university would be the best fit. Instead, my father cleared his throat and exchanged a glance with my mother. "We've decided to allocate the college fund to Jake," he said firmly. "As a man, he'll need a solid education to provide for his future family." I was stunned. But what about me? I've worked hard to get into these schools. My mother's response was a dagger to the heart. "Sweetheart, you'll marry a successful man who will take care of you. Your brother has the responsibility of being the provider." Tears welled up, but I refused to let them fall. Without another word, I retreated to my room, the weight of their betrayal pressing down on me. Determined not to let their narrow-mindedness derail my ambitions, I sought alternatives. I applied for every scholarship and grant available, took on multiple part-time jobs, and even considered delaying my education. Eventually, through sheer perseverance, I managed to secure enough funding to attend a reputable university. College was a whirlwind of challenges and growth. Balancing coursework with jobs left little time for social activities, but I was driven by a desire to prove my worth. I majored in finance, a field dominated by men, and faced my fair share of skepticism and bias. Yet, each obstacle only fueled my determination. Upon graduation, I landed a position at a prominent investment firm in New York City. The fast-paced environment was demanding, but I thrived under pressure. Over the years, I climbed the corporate ladder, earning respect and recognition in the industry. By the time I was in my early 30s, I had amassed significant wealth through smart investments and strategic career moves. During this time, my relationship with my family remained strained. Jake attended college but struggled to find his footing in the professional world. Our parents continued to support him financially, enabling his lack of direction. Meanwhile, they showed little interest in my accomplishments, often dismissing my success as mere luck or attributing it to external factors. One day, out of the blue, I received a call from my mother. Her voice was laced with desperation. "We need your help," she began. "The bank is threatening to foreclose on the house. Jake's business ventures haven't panned out, and we're drowning in debt." I listened silently, memories of their past dismissals flooding back. After a pause, I responded, "I'm sorry to hear that. But as you once told me, I'm sure Jake will figure it out. After all, he's the man of the family." There was a stunned silence on the other end. "Please," she pleaded, "we have nowhere else to turn." Recalling the years of neglect and the blatant favoritism, I felt a cold resolve. "Perhaps you can find someone else to help," I said calmly. "After all, you always believed I'd marry rich. Maybe you can find a wealthy son-in-law to bail you out." Before she could respond, I ended the call, a sense of closure washing over me. The decision to cut ties with my family was not made lightly. Years of therapy had taught me the importance of self-worth and boundaries. I channeled my energy into philanthropy, establishing scholarships for young women facing similar challenges, ensuring they had the support I was denied. While the scars of my upbringing remained, they no longer defined me. I had built a life of purpose and success on my terms. And in the quiet moments, I found peace, knowing that I had risen above the limitations others had tried to impose on me. A few months passed after I cut off that call. I expected silence, maybe even resentment. But instead, my mother started calling me every week. Sometimes it was just missed calls. Other times, voicemails that started calm and ended in tears. I didn't respond. I couldn't. But the guilt started creeping in. That old familiar guilt they had trained into me. Be the good daughter, put others first, keep the family together. Then one day I got a letter. A real paper envelope in the mail. No return address, just shaky handwriting spelling out mine. It was from Jake. I almost threw it away. But curiosity got me. I sat at my kitchen counter, coffee going cold, and opened it. He wrote that he was sorry. He said he never knew about the college fund decision until years later. Said he assumed I didn't want it. Claimed he asked them about me sometimes, but they'd say I was busy living the dream and didn't want to be bothered. He asked to meet. Just once, he wrote, for coffee, neutral ground. I didn't trust him. Still don't. But something about the way he wrote it, like he was trying, or pretending to, made me say yes. We met at a small diner in downtown Columbus. I arrived first. He looked older than I remembered, more worn down. Same cocky eyes though, hiding behind humility. He ordered a coffee, black. I didn't say much at first. Jake leaned forward. You hate me, he said, and I don't blame you. But I need you to know I didn't ask them to give me your money. I stared at him. But you took it. He didn't deny it. Just looked down. Yeah, he said, I did. He started telling me about the startup he tried to build. Something about real estate data and AI, poorly timed and underfunded. Lost hundreds of thousands. Still in debt. Said he was living in mom and dad's basement now. That made me raise an eyebrow. I thought they were losing the house. He laughed bitterly. They are. But it's all they have left, and they won't leave. So I stay and try to keep the lights on. I wanted to feel something. Sadness. Anger. I didn't. He reached into his jacket and slid something across the table. A flash drive. This is everything, he said. Bank records, emails, receipts. You should see it. Why would I want to? I asked. He looked me straight in the eye. Because they've been lying to you. And to me. I didn't say anything. Just took the drive and walked out. I wasn't ready to open it. But I couldn't stop thinking about it either. That night, I plugged it in. It was all organized, folders labeled by year. I clicked through and started seeing things I wasn't prepared for. There were emails from my mother to old friends, mocking my choice to move out of state, calling me stubborn, ungodly ambitious, even cold. There were bank records showing that not only did they use my college fund for Jake, they'd also pulled money from my late grandmother's trust, which was supposed to be for me. For a wedding or a house, Grandma had said. Gone. But that wasn't the worst of it. There were receipts, huge withdrawals, sent to an account I didn't recognize. Over $80,000 moved in chunks. I traced it back. The account was under Jake's name, yes, but it was set up by my father. The notes in the wire transfers read, family insurance, emergency investment, future security. That's when the pieces started to fit. Jake hadn't just benefited passively. He'd been set up to receive secret funds long after the college days. My parents weren't just biased, they were committed to keeping me out. I couldn't sleep. The next day, I called my lawyer. What can I do? I asked. If they took funds from a trust that was in my name? He paused. Do you want to open that door? He asked. Because if we do, this becomes very public. And very ugly. I said yes. A week later, they got served. That same night, my mother showed up at my apartment. Not called. Not invited. Just stood there in her worn coat, clutching her purse like it was armor. I can't believe you're doing this, she said. I didn't let her in. You stole from me, I said. We were protecting the family, she said. Jake needed help. You didn't. I laughed. So you robbed me? You were doing fine, she shouted. You had your job, your money, your life. Jake was falling apart. I didn't answer. You always were cold, she whispered. I shut the door. And inside, I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't hurt, but because this time, I really knew, that I wasn't crazy. I was just the only one who ever saw things clearly. I don't know what's coming next. The lawsuit. The fallout. The family gossip. I don't even care. All I know is this. They took everything they could from me. And I'm going to make sure the world sees it. It's not about the money anymore. It's about the truth. And I'm not letting go. Want me to continue from here? It's about to get even messier. 2 weeks after the lawsuit was filed, I got a call from an unknown number. Normally, I don't pick those up, but something told me to answer this one. It was my Aunt Melissa, my dad's sister. We hadn't talked in over 10 years. I barely remembered her voice, but she sounded tired, like she'd aged a lifetime since we last spoke. I heard about the lawsuit, she said, skipping small talk. From them? I asked. No, from the family accountant. That caught me off guard. You still talk to him? I've been keeping an eye on things. Ever since your grandmother passed. She paused. You should know something. Your dad, he didn't just use your trust fund. He forged documents. After your grandmother died, there was a second trust set up for you. One she created secretly, separate from the one your parents knew about. I nearly dropped the phone. She gave me a copy of the paperwork before she passed. Told me to hold on to it just in case anything went wrong. Said she didn't fully trust your parents. I had no words. None. I didn't want to get involved, Melissa continued. But when I heard what they did, I had to call. You're not crazy. And you were never the favorite because your success made them feel small. The next morning, Melissa emailed me the documents. My heart stopped when I saw the numbers. The second trust? Worth over $150,000. Supposed to be released to me when I turned 25. Never happened. Instead, it had been cashed out. And transferred. To Jake. That was the final straw. I gave everything to my lawyer, every email, every transaction, every forged signature. I added Melissa's documents, too. The case was no longer just about betrayal. It was criminal. A week later, Jake called me. He was angry. Not desperate anymore. Not sorry. Angry. You didn't have to go this far, he snapped. We're family. Family doesn't steal and lie, I said. And I gave you a chance to come clean. I thought we were trying to fix this. No, I said. You thought I'd back down. You thought I'd be quiet. Like always. And then he said something that stopped me cold. You think you're so smart? So successful? You think all that money makes you better? You're alone. You've always been alone. You're just bitter and jealous and cold. Just like Mom says. I didn't respond. I just hung up. I stared out the window for a long time that night. Not because his words hurt, but because he meant them. He believed them. And I realized this wasn't about money. It never was. It was about erasing me. Keeping me small. Keeping me quiet. Because people like them? They can't stand when the person they look down on ends up above them. A few days later, I got a call from the investigator working with my lawyer. He'd found something big. Turns out, Jake had used the second trust, not for business, like he claimed, but to buy a luxury car, a series of vacations, and worst of all, to invest in a sketchy crypto scheme. One run by his old college buddy, who was now being investigated for fraud. Even better? There were text messages. Screenshots. Jake bragging about how he got the dumb money from his dead grandma. Laughing about how his sister wouldn't miss it anyway. She's too busy being a Wall Street robot. That was it. The evidence was airtight. It went from a civil suit to a full-blown fraud case. My parents? Complicit. Signatures matched. Emails proved knowledge. They couldn't deny it anymore. But the twist didn't end there. The media got wind of it. And they ran with it. Headline after headline. Wall Street exec sues parents, brother for trust fund fraud. Then a follow-up, family betrayal sparks legal firestorm. Suddenly my face was in articles. My story was being dissected by strangers on Twitter and Reddit. People were picking sides, some sympathetic, others calling me ungrateful. Then came the biggest shock. A woman reached out. Through a private email, very formal. She said her name was Diane. Said she was my grandmother's old lawyer. Retired now. But she had something she thought I'd want to know. Apparently, before my grandmother died, she left behind a handwritten letter. One only to be given in the event the trust was misused or contested. She attached a scan. I opened it with shaking hands. It was dated the year before Grandma passed. It read, "If you're reading this, then they've betrayed you again. I tried to give you something of your own, something they couldn't twist or take. I'm so sorry." I knew, even back then, what they would do. You were always stronger than all of them combined. Don't let them win. I read it 5 times. That night, I cried. Not because I was weak, but because for the first time in years, I felt seen. I felt like someone had believed in me all along. I printed the letter and framed it. The case is still ongoing. My parents have hired new lawyers. Jake's facing real consequences. And the family? It's shattered. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone's picking sides. But I'm not afraid anymore. Because I know who I am. And they're about to find out too. The trial date came faster than I expected. The courthouse was packed. Family members who hadn't spoken to me in years suddenly showed up, some to glare, others just to stare. My mother wore a soft gray suit like she was going to church. My father looked like he aged 20 years. Jake had cut his hair short, probably to look more professional. But it didn't matter. The evidence was stacked high. My lawyers had done their job. And when Jake's crypto buddy took a deal and turned on him, it was like watching the last card fall. Under oath, Jake admitted he knew the money wasn't his. That he was told by my father to keep quiet. That my mother had written the thank you notes to the bank pretending to be me, signing my name in cursive I hadn't used since middle school. The judge didn't need much time. Jake was convicted of fraud. My parents were found liable for financial misconduct and misappropriation of trust funds. They lost everything. The house, the savings. My mother cried as the judge read the ruling. My father didn't look at me once. Outside the courtroom, reporters were waiting. I didn't say a word. Just walked straight to my car. But it wasn't over. Because I had one last move. I bought their house. It came up for auction after the bank foreclosed. I sent my assistant to the sale so it wouldn't be obvious. I didn't even blink at the cost. A month later, when they got the notice to vacate, they called me. Over and over. Begging. My mother said they had nowhere to go. My father asked if I'd make them homeless just for pride. So I drove out there. Parked in front of the house in a black SUV they'd never seen before. They opened the door like they still thought I'd come to forgive. I bought the house, I said. They just stared. My mother's lips moved, but no words came out. You have 2 weeks to leave. After that, I'll have you removed. Legally. We're your parents, she whispered. We made mistakes, but we're still family. I looked around the room. The same couch where they told me I didn't matter. The same floor where I cried the night they gave everything to Jake. No, I said. You're strangers who stole from me. Jake had already disappeared. Rumors said he skipped town after sentencing. I didn't care. 2 weeks later, I had the locks changed. Then I did something I'd been thinking about for a long time. I turned the house into a women's shelter. Not a fancy one. A real, working shelter for girls like me. Girls who got told they weren't enough. Girls who got pushed aside for brothers, for husbands, for dreams that weren't theirs. I named it after my grandmother. Put her picture in the front lobby. The one where she's smiling, holding a book, proud and strong. And every time I visit, I walk through those doors, not as a daughter they cast aside, but as a woman who rose from the ashes they left her in. They took my childhood. They tried to take my future. But in the end, I took everything back. And they were left with nothing. Not even a name on the mailbox.